Thank you, Dr. Minhaz. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Respected faculty members of both the universities, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu Alaikum. In next about 10 or 12 minutes, I'll be trying my earnest effort to throw some light on a very important but yet very less known subject in Pakistan, especially that is role of the Polish airmen in establishing Pakistan Air Force, which was initially a Royal PAF, which was later on became a Pakistan Air Force. I'll be proceeding in the sequence as flashed. Before we proceed further, it looks in place to have some understanding about the contextual relevance of the then Pakistan, Poland, and some international scenario. Talking about the relevant international scenario, especially in the post-World War II, as we know that on the European front, the Yalta Conference of February 1945 had divided the Europe. Cooperation converted into confrontation, and Eastern Europe was placed behind the Iron Curtain, and we could see initiation of Cold War. While on the subcontinent front, Britishers, after achievement of political, military, and economic objectives, were feeling overstretched, overburdened, and politically exhausted. They really wanted to lay off decolonization and concentrate on the internal building of their country, which was devastated during the Second World War. In Pakistan's perspective, newly established Pakistan state was a resource constraint. We had a lot of challenges of rebuilding. There was an unfinished partition agenda by the leaving Britishers, which created the Kashmir issue. We were forced into a military conflict, and this was coupled with the departure of the British airmen who wanted to leave Pakistan immediately after establishing Pakistan. And it created critical shortage of the trained human resource, so there was an urgent requirement of especially skilled human resource of the Pakistan Air Force. On the Polish side, Poland had been the geopolitical, because of the geopolitical relevance, had been a playground, unfortunately, for warmongers we can witness in the course of history. However, Polish Air Force was very modern at that time. I'm talking about late 30s and early 40s. They were in step with the world in technology and training. In 1939, on the onset of the Second World War, the Polish Air Force consisted of 15 squadrons, out of which 8 were the fighter squadrons, 4 bomber squadrons, 1 air reconnaissance, 1 air defense, and 1 cooperator squadron. So it was a complete air force by any standards at that particular time. However, at the onset of war, like 1939, after the loss of defensive war against Germany, about 11,000 Polish people had to leave Poland, and many of them had to fight the rest of the war, especially people from Air Force while fighting from the Royal Air Force. And during this war, over 2,500 Polish airmen lost their lives while fighting war from the Royal Air Force. It was they really played a remarkable role and seriously dented the Luftwaffe Air Force of Germany. In the post-World War II scenario, Polish airmen were caught in a catch-22 situation. They were no more required, dumped by the Royal Air Force, and overnight heroes became aliens. They could not return to their own fatherland because they were not welcome because of the fear of persecution. And ultimately they felt betrayed, homeless, and in our Air Force language we call being left high and dry. So we can see that both countries had foreign domination and colonization. They had hostile background, neighborhood, and faced hostilities right from their inception. There was an acute scarcity of resources which was left behind by their old masters, and both countries forced into conflict right from their inception. Pakistan, as alluded earlier, due to the departure of the trained British airmen, created a critical shortage of trained human resource, while Polish airmen, they were feeling betrayed, homeless, looking for the opportunities. However, due to the prevalent geopolitical reasons, Pakistan could not sign the G2G contracts with the Polish people, and individual contracts were materialized. So in a nutshell, we can say that it was a marriage of convenience between the Polish airmen and the nascent Pakistan. Before we proceed further, have a very brief overview of the significance of the air power. Why air power was so critical at that particular time. We have seen over the year that Air Force has been the weapon of first choice by the warring states because of the unique attributes of speed, reach, and ubiquity. It can achieve politico-military objectives single-handedly and help other armed forces also to achieve their objectives. And it's a powerful means for power projection, and it has played decisive role since World War II in almost all the wars which have been fought later on. Founding father of Pakistan, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, was very much cognizant of the prowess of the Air Force, and despite scarcity of resources, expressed clear resolve and laid foundation of a strong, potent, and dynamic Air Force. He, while addressing a graduation ceremony at the Royal PAF Flying Training College, Risalpur, on 13th April 1948, said a very famous quote which almost known to every individual of the Pakistan Air Force, that any country without a strong Air Force is at the mercy of any aggressor. And we have seen it a number of times in our history. Pakistan must build up her Air Force as quickly as possible, and it must be an efficient Air Force second to none. Now this brings me to the composition and diversity of Polish contingent. In order to recruit the Polish people, there was a two-member aviation commission which was established at the Pakistan High Commission in London. Eligible candidates were shortlisted literally out of hundreds. And resultantly, there were 30 Polish airmen who were selected finally for induction in the Royal Pakistan Air Force. That included pilots, flying trainers, flight engineers, aerial gunners, paraglide instructors, radio technicians, and maintenance staff. And finally, Polish contingent led by then squadron leader Władysław Torowicz, which was later on famously known as Turo in Pakistan Air Force. They landed in Karachi on 13 December 1948. The story of Polish airmen will never be complete without the mention of later on rose to the Air Commodore Władysław Torowicz. He was a PhD in aeronautical engineers, masters in aerodynamics, and a bomber pilot, and finally he was a test pilot, a very rarely achieved feat by individuals. He established technical training section in PF base Faisal, that was known as Rig Road in the earlier times. He commanded the first maintenance units at PF base Faisal. He established technical training unit at PF College Risalpur and also remained chief guest at the same college. He commanded PF stations Kohat and Chaklala, like PF bases Kohat and Chaklala. Great achievement. He rose to Assistant Chief of Air Staff Maintenance, and during 1965 war with India, must be a very interesting note for all of you, he ensured 97% availability of the PAF fleet despite American sanctions. Very great achievement. He retired as an Air Commodore in 1967, which is a one-star general in Pakistan Air Force. Other than the Air Force, we could see his services in the space, missile, and nuclear programs, which is again very less known to the people in Pakistan. He, along with Dr. Abdul Salam, who himself was a Nobel laureate in physics, convinced then President Ayub Khan to start indigenous space program. They both convinced the Americans to invest in space program to counter Russians who launched Sputnik in 1968. And resultantly, Pakistani scientists were trained from NASA. He, after his retirement from Pakistan Air Force, became first executive director of SPARCO, that is Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission in 1967 and continued to hold this position till 1970. He prepared satellite launch site at Somyani test firing range and designed and launched multi-stage rockets, which later on became the basis of Pakistan's surface-to-surface missiles. Now today we can see the host of Ghauris and Shaheens, so the bases were laid down by Torovich. And maybe information to all of you that he initiated nuclear program in 1969. He was the most decorated Polish Pakistani officer so far in the history of Pakistan. He was awarded with Sitare Pakistan, Tamghe Pakistan, Sitare Khidmat, Sitare Qaid-e-Azam, Sitare Imtiaz Military, Dr. Abdul Salam Award in Aeronautical Engineering, and International Center for Theoretical Physics Award in Space Physics 1979. PF recognized the services of Torovich and placed a memorial in his honor at the PF Museum on 14th August 2006. And to my Polish colleagues, hopefully tomorrow you are going to visit the same monument, inshallah. There's also a Sparco. Sparco also established the Torovich Space Complex in Lahore. It is still there. And Pakistan Air Force introduced Torovich Trophy at our Aeronautical Engineering College, Risalpur. As we all know that every successful man has a role of a woman behind. So the story of Torovich is not complete without the mention of Mrs. Torovich, who was a remarkable lady with multifaceted personality. She enjoyed great respect amongst Pakistani students and the colleagues. She was simultaneously a sport aeroplane pilot, a paraglide instructor, taught physics, chemistry and maths in the Karachi University and Karachi American School. And resultantly, Government of Pakistan awarded Pride of Performance and Sitara Imtiaz to her. Let's have a brief glimpses of diverse fields serving Pakistan Air Force. There were other Polish airmen as well who rose to responsible and prominent positions other than the Air Commodore Torovich. They commanded fighter bomber squadrons, air transport squadrons, served at air headquarters, participated in wars of 1948 and 1965 while fighting from Pakistan Air Force, and established the Orient Airways, which later on became Pakistan International Airlines. I'll briefly cover their services one by one. First of all, in the air operation domain, they were very well trained and had a rich experience of World War II, set high professional standards for PF airmen, showed remarkable courage, commitment, and allegiance, and actively participated on our eastern and western fronts. Few hundreds of air-to-ground, air-to-air, and air-to-ground operational sorties. That one sortie is the one mission flown against the enemy forces. And resultantly, 2 Polish pilots also died while serving in Pakistan Air Force. In the air transport domain, Polish pilots, navigators, and air gunners of No. 6 Air Transport Squadron performed exceptionally well in difficult mountainous terrain and narrow valleys. They flew hundreds of sorties to airdrop supplies and arms. They undertook air transport sorties to Gilgit, which was a newly built airport right in the beginning. And they audaciously conducted air-to-ground, gunnery, and strafing missions in treacherous western mountains, especially on our western contingency, which was conducted against the famous Fakir of Ipi. Reposing trust and confidence in them, Squadron Leader Tarkovsky was assigned to the Flight and Communication Unit of the Governor General of Pakistan, which was itself a very remarkable achievement. In the maintenance field, Air Commodore Torovich set up a technical training school, as I have already alluded. Very important factor that he modernized aircraft support equipment maintenance facilities and introduced concepts of centralized inventory management, availability of trained personnel, aircraft repair and recovery facilities, and spares portability for PF fleet. He established maintenance and training unit at Faisal and Risalpur and introduced indigenization, and self-reliance, which now we see in the form of Pakistan Aeronautical Complex Kamra, and kept the PF fleet up and running despite US sanctions during 1965 war. Polish technical team ensured maintenance of multiple types of aircraft of number 6 transport squadron despite a lot of difficulties. Coming over to the training domain, they trained our pilots, navigators, gunners, radio operators, and aircraft maintenance and technicians at Royal PF Academy, Risalpur. There were 2 flight lieutenants who commanded flight training and navigator training squadrons at PF College, Risalpur. And especially I would like to mention Flight Lieutenant Gorzula and Flight Lieutenant Banach, who were very famous flying instructors amongst the Pakistani aviation students of that time. Both played key role in organizing induction camps for Royal PF at the leading universities and colleges of Pakistan. They established air gunnery and radio, electronics and training setups for the Royal PF. Coming over to the glider training, in those times it used to be and even still today, a prerequisite for the flight cadets across the modern world. Mrs. Zofia and Mrs. Maria Yunga, I hope I am pronouncing it right, they were expert and experienced glider instructors. They taught glider training at Karachi, Shaheen Scouts, Rawalpindi, and flight cadets at PF Flying Training College, Risalpur. Both enjoyed deep respect and liking by their students. They were truly a unique and pleasant experience for the traditional Muslim community. This brings me to briefly analyze the political, social, historical, and cultural aspects. They were regarded as more friendly and pleasant and sociable, which may be attributed that they were not amongst the colonial masters, rather they were employed by the Pakistan Air Force and the PF. They themselves had been subjected to the agony of living under the occupational forces. It brought color to the social life, actively participated in our mess lives, and beaches in Karachi were the famous destinations for them. PF, as we all know, we are gentle blind, we carry no religious, caste or creed biases, and they felt at liberty to pursue social and cultural endeavors, and especially, as alluded earlier, women instructors brought pleasant social sense. There was a scarcity of literature, as we observe, that there are no personal diaries, magazines, research articles, books, films, or documentaries, which may be attributed to as Polish aviators had to flee their country and fight rest of the war from Royal Air Force. Uncomfortable working environment, circumstances under which they reached Pakistan were more of a compulsive than optional. And Iron Curtain barred literature to flow across either side. Pakistan was circumstantially inclined to take side with the US-led Western Bloc, mainly because of that subcontinent was participated in World War as a British colony, and at the time of partition, there were hosts which were related to the outgoing Britishers. Pakistan was compelled to keep induction at low key because Pakistan and Poland were in opposite political camps. Polish government had close ties with the pro-Soviet Indian government and didn't own Polish airmen serving in Pakistan. Or to geopolitical and geoeconomic compulsions, Pakistan could not officially recognize. Exchange of official documents was not materialized, and it discouraged the private individuals to carry some research. In order to conclude, I would say that they really built PF in all domains, including operational training, air transport, and maintenance. They played an unforgettable role in shaping PF's edifice of excellence, and it was only after dropping of the Iron Curtain that we could see contacts at personal and official levels established, and we established a monument, as already explained. There is the space complex at Sparko, and we could see a documentary coming up in 2008, and autobiography of Air Commodore Turovich, published in our magazine of Pakistan Air Force, named second to none in 2020. There's a book on Professor Alexander Bulakowski sitting right next to us, which was published and translated in 2016. And there are few articles here and there, and in the same domain, myself making an earnest effort to throw some light on a very vast subject. Ladies and gentlemen, despite number of diversities, we have number of converging grounds as well. And these number of fields, there are further deepen mutual cooperation and have a bright future with shared progress and prosperity. This is my firm belief. With this, I thank you for your patient hearing. Pakistan Zindabad, Pakistan-Poland friendship Zindabad, Polish-Pakistani airmen Zindabad.